Heart Song. I am Ashley Torian, your host. Thank you for joining me today. This is the place where we get out of the stress and back into our body, our life, and our businesses. When we tune into the song of our heart, that is when we master the mind and the stress that steals our life. I am so happy you have joined today. Today is a fun discussion around the misconception of weight and overeating. And today I'm going to introduce to you a new concept around this. Lately, we have been talking about the symptoms of the body and how the body can whisper or shout at us. We've also talked on previous episodes around what is weight. Is weight a screen that prevents us from looking within for the whisper of who we truly are? And if that is the case, then what is overeating about? Because we've all done it. We have all done the overeating thing, whether it was long ago in our childhood, whether it is every time we go eat Mexican food. Here in Texas, when we go eat that Mexican food, there's that bowl of chips and the hot sauce, and you eat and eat and eat on that until the meal comes out, and then you eat the meal, and then they offer you fried ice cream, and you can't say no to fried ice cream. That's just too yummy. And when we do all of that, we're giving our gut way too much food to process at one time. Sometimes we might overeat when we are experiencing a difficult time in our life. We may want to be putting on a block, ignoring something that is going on in our life, and so we overeat to bring in the comfort hormones. There are many situations and experiences in our life that bring that exercise, we'll call it, of overeating. So whether it is a daily occurrence for you, an occasional occurrence, or whether maybe you don't overeat at all and you've never had that experience, then this podcast, this TV show is going to give you some great information on the digestive process in general. Because whether you overeat or not, what I'm about to tell you is mind-blowing. It will have you look at your eating experience in a totally different way. So are you ready? Let's do this. We are first going to do our vitality score. We always start with the vitality score. We got to know where we are so we can determine where we're going to go and what we need to do to get there. And this show just might be able to give you a little bit of an inkling on how to transform your vitality score. So the way we do a vitality score is we're taking each segment of you, physical body, emotional body, mental body, and spiritual body. And we're going to give it a score between 1 and 10. 10 being you are so in alignment in that area of your life, you are knocking it out of the park. Or a 1 being you are really in the muck puddle. The energy score is low in that area of who you are, and you are really having some trouble. 5 is middle of the road. All right, so let's take it. Physical body. Today, your physical body is, on a scale of 1 to 10, where would you score you? Do you have lots of energy in your physical body? That's a 10. Or are you missing some energy? You don't feel so good in your body today. Your body is giving you a lot of symptoms today. That's going to give you a score between 1 and 5. So write your score down. Next, we're going to go to mental body. Mentally, where are you today? Oh, I love that. Thank you for bringing that up in the live audience. If you're in the live audience, feel free to put that score in the chat box. That is so fun for me to be able to see where you are in this moment. So mental body, mentally, where are you today? On a 10, you are clear, you are on point, you are just knocking it out of the park with your efficiency mentally. Or are you scoring between a 1 and a 5 where it's a little cloudy, a little disjointed, not real articulate with your thoughts? That's between a 1 and a 5. So write down your score. All right, now we are moving into beautiful. I see a 7. That's awesome. Now we're moving into the emotional body. Your emotional body, emotionally, do you feel centered, grounded, That's close to a 10, between a 5 and a 10, or a 6 and a 10. Or emotionally, are you discombobulated, a little edgy, maybe moody, maybe even witchy? Who knows? Are your moods emotionally, are you just scoring between a 1 and a 5? Put that on there. Great. Oh, I love it. I've got an 8 coming in. That's beautiful. Now, spiritually, are you today spiritually connected, spiritually aligned, spiritually guided? That's between a 6 and a 10. Between a 1 and a 5 spiritually, that means you're disconnected. You haven't taken time in stillness today. You are feeling a little, I don't know, just off center, off put. You're lost. That would be between a 1 and a 5. Beautiful. And I see a 5 coming in. That's awesome. You're going to add up those scores, and the high score is a 40. So if you're scoring between a 30 and a 40, you are doing great. Keep doing what you're doing. Stay in tune. Spend that quiet time. On previous shows, we've talked about how we start our day and the quiet time that we can bring in, and all the different things we can do in that quiet time that will help us get aligned. And that would be between a 30 and a 30 and a 40, and just keep doing what you're doing. If you're scoring below a 30, then this is a moment for you to just kind of touch base with yourself. Tune in and look at, okay, what area of my life is a little low, and what can I do to elevate it so that I can score between a 30 and a 40. This is not the time for judgment, for criticism, for wishing that I was better. It's not time for those thoughts. It's the time for us to just look and notice where we are so that we can elevate and move forward. Release, surrender what is not needed, and step forward. All right, so y'all, today it is all about eliminate the overeating tendency for good. I love this topic, and I love this topic because whether overeating is an issue or not, all of the information that I give in today's program is just beneficial, so beneficial for your health and vitality. When you adopt these 3 tips that I'm going to give you today, your vitality will increase exponentially. You will feel so good, so on point, so clear, so connected, so aligned. Because when we do these 3 things that I'm going to be sharing with you, we are releasing what's not needed, and we're tuning in to what is. We are getting nourished and increasing our nutrient value. So what is this thing about overeating? I remember a time in my life when I was terrified. In high school, I was terrified to be seen eating, thinking that people would think, oh my goodness, no wonder she's the size she is. And y'all, I was an athlete. I was a cheerleader, an athlete, a gymnast. Sure, I was not the tiniest girl in town, but I also did not have a weight issue at all, at all. However, there was something in my mind where I thought I was. I thought I was the biggest girl in town. I thought all of these things. And so in high school and college, I closet ate, and I also over-exercised. And when I was doing that, I felt like an imposter. I felt not good in my own skin. When it comes to vitality score, I was so disconnected in every one of those quadrants, because when you closet eat and when you over exercise and when you feel guilty to even be eating, there is something out of alignment for sure. And most girls and women feel this at some point in their life. The majority. I think I'm speaking to the majority here. What we want to realize, though, is that when we are in those places, they're just signs that something needs to be addressed. And y'all, it's never about the food. Ever, ever, ever is it about the food. It is always a soul issue. When I was first married, my husband and I were huge weight trainers. We had both done powerlifting in college. And then when we got out, we began working out with a system that Larry Scott, he is a 5-time Mr. Olympian, and he's from the 60s. We trained with him and got on his program and were super in alignment with it. You know, it is what we did. We lived it, and we did all of our training, all of our measurements, all of the eating that we were supposed to do. However, it did come to a point where even though you're training like that and you're eating good, I also found myself overeating because I was working out 3 hours a day plus training clients. I had plenty of caloric burn, so I was overeating, and eating a lot. But that doesn't work when you aren't working out 3 hours a day. It doesn't work. You all of a sudden get really out of balance. And I was completely checked out to the needs of my body, completely checked out. I was all about the calories in, calories out mindset, which is a falsehood. It is such a falsehood. That is not true. Our physical body is so much more complex than a calories in, calories out approach. In fact, just recently, I put that to the test and proved it wrong yet again. So if you are thinking that calories in, calories out is the way to go, I'm here to tell you it's not. What I'm about to share with you is the real thing. It is so enlightening and nourishing all at the same time. So I eventually found myself in trouble with this. So my questions for you is, do you see your challenge as being that of an overeater? Do you find that your challenge is over-exercising? Do you find that your challenge could possibly be in the area of willpower? Most think that overeating is a willpower issue, and it is not a willpower issue. The first issue that we have when it comes to food is unawareness. The problem is that we don't really eat when we eat. I know that sounds very strange, but hang with me for a minute. We don't really eat when we eat. What that means is we are missing the eating experience. If you are totally checked out the way that I was, mind numb to the eating, then you are missing out on the eating experience, which is what the brain is looking for. So research has discovered that we have this thing called CPDR. That is the cephalic phase digestive response. This is the head phase of digestion. And when we are in the head phase of digestion, we are looking for the visual stimulation of the meal. We're looking for pleasure, aroma, satisfaction, and taste. And if we don't get that from our senses, notice that everything that I just listed off comes from our senses. And if you've ever done emotional resolution with me, then you know that what we're working with is our subconscious mind. The subconscious mind records information through all of the senses. So when we get down to eating a meal and we are allowing ourselves to be in that relaxed state of operation, I've spoken to you before in past episodes where we take time before we eat. We take long, slow, smooth, deep, and even breaths. We get into a parasympathetic state, which is the relaxed state of operation before we eat, because what does that do? It wakes up that gut brain. And we're going to be connecting that with the CPDR that we're talking about today. So when we have harnessed the CPDR, the cephalic phase digestive response, we've tuned in to the visual stimulation of the meal, taste, aroma, pleasure, and satisfaction. We have then increased our digestive capability by 40 to 60%. I'm pausing right here because I want you to really hear that. When you take a moment to stop and get the visual stimulation of the meal, bring in the head phase of digestion, taste, aroma, pleasure, satisfaction, you will increase your digestive power and assimilation power by 40 to 60%. So imagine this. If you are sitting on the couch watching TV and eating your meal, and you are only tuned into the show that you're watching and you're not tuned into your meal, what just happened? You just disconnected and reduced your digestive and assimilation power by 40 to 60%. You're only digesting at 50% of your capacity, thereabouts. No wonder we have tummy aches, digestive upset. No wonder people overeat, and I'm going to go into more of that in just a minute. So this is a real problem. This is a huge problem. I know so many people who sit down to eat a meal in front of the TV, and it is an issue. Now, when you get this process down of how to eat effectively with CPDR and ENS and full activation, then you can watch TV because you know how to check into your meal. But when you're first learning this process, no TV, no checking emails, no flipping through Facebook, no, none of that. None. Because if we're doing that, then the brain feels like it didn't eat. The brain is looking for the message from the enteric nervous system, which is your gut brain. It's looking for leptin to be sent from the gut brain to the head brain to say, yes, I've eaten. We are good to go. We've got plenty of energy. But if the head phase of digestion was asleep, then the enteric nervous system was also asleep. Everything was asleep. And then the brain does not register that it ate. So when you leave a meal, let's say you ate a meal and it was very, it was a complete meal. There was plenty of food there to give you that. But if your brain did not experience the meal, then it interprets it as a missed experience and interprets that as hunger. And all it can think about is that it's hungry. It did not register that it ate, so it's hungry. So what we want to do in this situation is slow down and get aware that we're eating. So that is tip number one for you. Become aware that you're about to eat a meal. Bring on all of your senses to the table so that you know when you're having an eating experience. Otherwise, your brain's going to be going, hungry, hungry, hungry. So how did we get to this problem? How did we get to this? Because previously, 50s and even before that, people sat down to eat. People took time with meals. Well, since the 60s and 70s, we eat more fast food and we're eating on the go. We're in the fast-paced world. Another issue is we have created busy schedules. Busy is the 4-letter word. Watch previous episodes of mine where I talk about that word busy. The do more and be more mentality is creating a fast life monster. We are no longer sitting down at the table with family for our dinners. We're no longer doing that. We are eating while we're taking our kids to soccer or to whatever sport that they are in. We have meetings over lunch. Yes. We eat breakfast in the car while we're sitting in traffic. No wonder, y'all, we have an awareness problem. No wonder our brain is going hungry, 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 because it's not registering that you ate the meal. We are no more aware that we're eating than we are when we tie our shoes. You know how we tie our shoes on autopilot? You just tie your shoe. You know how to tie your shoe. You've done it for years. It's a muscle memory. So you just do it and you don't even think about it. We're doing the same thing with eating. The unfortunate thing is that our brain needs to know when it's eating so that you feel satisfied. So you receive that satisfaction. The brain is programmed at the most primitive level. It seeks pleasure, not pain. This programming cannot be changed. It can't. So are you receiving pleasure when you eat? If you don't receive pleasure, then the brain doesn't register that it's even receiving it. It's that it even received food, that your body received a meal. It's not receiving that. So we want to take the time to receive pleasure from our meal, satisfaction from the meal. Think of it like this. Here's a good example. If you love chocolate, but feel guilty for eating it and worried that you're going to gain weight and stressed out that you're eating a bad food, then guess what's going to happen? You have just desensitized yourself to receiving pleasure, and stress was the culprit of that. Stress desensitizes us to fun and pleasure. You could receive full pleasure from the chocolate. This past week, I was at a retreat and they had the most delectable chocolate cake I think I've ever put on my palate. And when I saw the young girl next to me get that piece of chocolate cake, and I typically don't partake in desserts. It's something I do occasionally, but it's not something on a regular basis. And their dessert has to be like better than my favorite dessert ever in my life in order for me to eat it when I'm out and about. It just does. It has to be better than what I picture in my mind as the best. And this one exceeded that. It was this incredible chocolate moussey cake with chocolate chips on the back side of it, and it had a really thick icing. So the icing and the chocolate chips sold me on it. Anything with chocolate chips, I'm going to take it. So when I'm looking at this cake, I'm thinking, okay, this is going to be really good. So what is going to be the best part of this cake? Because I'm not going to eat the whole thing. I know me better than that. I know I'm not going to do it. It's not something that I allow myself to do anymore, because I want the best parts of the cake, because I want to feel pleasure from this. And if I ate the whole thing, I would no longer feel pleasure. So what part of the cake do I eat that I'm going to feel the most pleasure? And guess what it was? It was that back inch of that cake. I could leave the rest of it, but the back inch, oh my goodness, no. That is where I was going to receive pleasure and satisfaction and yummy taste. So that's what I did. I ate off the back, and I ate it very slowly. I breathed between bites. I relished, my taste buds relished it. I gave it time on my palate. I thoroughly chewed it. I swallowed because I wanted to enjoy that. And I didn't want a tummy ache afterwards. I didn't want digestive upset afterwards. So I was super slow and aware and received a lot of pleasure from it. And I did receive pleasure from it. And did y'all know that I took the rest of that cake, I put it into a go container because I thought, I may want it later in the week. Did you know I went to open that and looked at it and even took one little bite and went, nope, it's not as good as those bites that I had before. And I threw the rest away. When we can train our body-mind complex to look for the pleasure that is truly received from the food we're eating, we will not overeat. You won't. You won't overeat, because you know that that pleasure is not something that is destroyed by overeating. That pleasure becomes special. That pleasure becomes invigorating. And your taste buds begin to determine what that pleasure really looks like. And when you've discovered that, you will never overeat again in your life. Overeating can also be caused by skipping meals and starving yourself. So the rule of thumb is do not starve yourself and do not skip meals unless you have the intermittent fasting in your protocol and you are getting used to it and you're building up that strength to be able to go for 14, 16, 18 hours, that's fine, as long as you don't overeat when you break your fast. Do not overeat when you break your intermittent fasting time. And the way that we do that is by eating slow and with awareness. We allow the head phase of digestion to come in. So you don't want to wait so long into the intermittent fasting to where you're going to overfill your gut brain, because once the gut brain's overfilled, the stomach is full, it's distended, the gut brain goes to sleep and digestive processes slow down. And that's when you end up with digestive upset. So we want to be slow and aware when we're breaking our intermittent fasting time frame. All right, so just wanted to give you a little heads up about that. It'll be super counterproductive to the fat loss process if you overeat after intermittent fasting. You want to eat to the point of energy, and that little rule of thumb is also in a previous episode. Eating to the point of energy is where you have the perfect portion that your gut brain can process in that moment. It's beautiful. So steps to eliminate overeating forever. Here you go. Are you ready? We got to slow down, y'all. Slow down. Remember how I talked about the fast food frenzy? We've got to slow down. Eat slow and with awareness, and your taste buds, your tongue, will let you know if a food is nourishing for you or not. Many foods out there, especially in the fast foods, if you go through and eat those slowly, your taste buds are going to go, oh my gosh, this food is not good. Fast food is not meant to be eaten slowly. So slow down with all of your eating all across the board so you receive that taste, aroma, pleasure, and satisfaction. When you slow down, you breathe between bites. You take a moment, you relax, you converse with the people at the table with you. There is no TV, there is no Facebooking, there is no email processing, there is none of that. It is only eating. When you eat, only eat. Be aware at your meal is step number 2. We want to initiate that CPDR, cephalic phase digestive response, and the enteric nervous system, our gut brain, to pay attention so that we receive the taste, aroma, pleasure, and satisfaction. And then number 3, which is really, 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 really important. Are you ready for this one? Check out who's eating. Who came to the table when you came to eat your dinner, your lunch, your breakfast, whatever it is? Who is at the table? Your persona. Who is that? Is it the guilt-ridden rebel? Is it the one who judges? Is it the one who is not satisfied with who you are? Is it, what persona is it that is coming to the table? Is it the one that doesn't feel good about who you are? The one who feels like your body is just blah, right? We want to check in who's eating, and we want to show up with the one who is calm, confident. So if you come up to the table and it's the person that's filled with angst, filled with anger, filled with frustration, filled with judgment, filled with criticism, if it's that person, then we bring ourselves to calm. And if you know emotional resolution, you emotionally resolve that angst out of your body before you ever pick up the fork to eat. We resolve that angst. And if you don't know emotional resolution, then you simply just sit there and take 5 to 10 deep breaths, allowing the diaphragm to massage the stomach. And when the diaphragm is expanding and contracting, it is massaging the vagus nerve, which you know what this does if you've been watching my show for any length of time. When it massages the vagus nerve, it tones the vagus nerve to stay in, for you to stay in parasympathetic state of operation, which is that relaxed state of being. So check out who's eating and make sure you're relaxed, at ease, and calm. Right? So I've had many clients come to me who are on the fast mode, who have just really digestion was in distress because they were eating fast. doing 5 million things while they were eating, checking out, tuning out. And one particularly that I've worked with recently, when she adopted this, and we had to do it one step at a time, because boy, she was go, 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 go. And we just very slowly brought her to that place where when she eats, she only eats. Her body dropped 10 pounds so effortlessly because she did that. When she ate, she only ate. She brought in awareness. She brought in the breath. She emotionally resolved the angst that was within her. And when she did that, her body naturally dropped 10 pounds. I mean, that is amazing. Didn't change anything of her food, but her body just drops that. Y'all, that's beautiful. That is huge. Huge, huge, huge. So to recap, overeating is not a willpower issue. This is about you being present, you being slow, you being intentional and aware when you eat. So ask yourself this question: what if I do nothing? What if I keep going the way that I'm going? What's going to happen is you are going to experience the same thing you are now. But what if you tweaked things a little bit? What if you just decided that when you eat, you only ate? Just change that one thing. What would happen? That is going to give you even more vitality, because you're going to start breathing between bites. And y'all, it's really uncomfortable at first to eat, only eat when you eat. That is super uncomfortable if you're used to doing 2, 3, 4 things at once. But I'm asking you, for your health and vitality, will you experiment with this? Will you experiment, and when you eat, only eat? Breathe between bites. Tune in to who is at the table. Resolve and release anything that is holding you back and holding you hostage in that moment, so that you can eat with peace and freedom. Thank you so much for joining me today for Ashley's Heart Song. This is on the Win Win Women TV network that you can see on Roku, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV. Tune in next week as we continue to armor up our lives.